Friends, just a gentle reminder before we begin, if anybody has a cell phone, if you could please take a moment to turn it on silent. Just under the rubric of Pekuach Nefesh, saving one's life, my colleague Nathan is going to be passing out some waters, especially on the outer circle of the canopy. If you're able to find some shade, we have some shade here. Officiating our service is Rabbi Jeremy Fine.
The Jewish people respond to death with 3 words of blessing. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Praised be the judge of truth. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given and God has taken, and through it all we continue to remember Marcia's name, her life, and her memory. She was preceded in death by her parents, Earl and Madelyn, survived by her brother Steuben, her children Brian, Davy, Scott, Beth, Seth, and Lori, and her grandchildren Marley, Amanda, Tyler, Eli, Drew, Jenna, Matt, and her spouse of nearly 56 years, Michael. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under the heaven. A time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. Today, which also marks the saddest day on the Jewish calendar, Tisha B'Av, we too hold a certain new pain in our hearts as we have lost another loved one. And we turn to our Psalms for comfort. Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar. Bitno deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yancheni. Nafshi yesh ohevev yancheni b'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elach begeit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yachamoni. Ta'aroch lefanai shelcha neged sorarai. Dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chaya. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads beside me the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for art thou with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, and my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Eshet chayil mi'imsa v'rachok mimi michra. Batoch bale bala v'shalom lo yechsar. Gemaltu tov v'lo ra kol yemei chaya. What a precious find is an Eshet chayil, a woman of valor. Her worth is beyond rubies. Her charm is deceitful and beauty vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her from the fruit of your hand wherever people gather. Her deeds speak her praise. We're going to hear from several family members. First, representing all of the grandchildren, we'll call on Amanda and Eli to say a few words.
My cousin Eli and I were designated to speak on behalf of Marcia's 7 grandchildren. Our grandma was a strong woman who demanded respect. Whether it was raising 3 boys, running multiple companies, or caring for her grandchildren, we all know that when Marcia spoke, you listened. Though she was in pain for many years, you would have never known, as any time you entered her home, you'd be greeted with lemon bars and chicken salad and lots of love. Our grandma taught us the importance of owning our Jewish identity and becoming strong and proud Jewish adults, whether it was sponsoring IDF soldiers to come stay with them at their home or taking us to Israel for her and Papa's 50th anniversary. Grandma never failed to teach us the importance of being proud of who we are and where we came from. Our grandma taught us how to fight our own battles, no matter how challenging they may be. She battled illness after illness with a smile on her face and has always been a true warrior. She was never afraid to speak her mind, something many of us definitely take after her in, and told you the truth always, even if you didn't want to hear it. Our grandma may not have been perfect, but she was perfect to us, and for that we are forever grateful. We love you, Grandma, and we are happy knowing that you are at peace. We promise to do our best to keep the peace between the brothers and take care of Papa with the kindness and love that you always did. May your memory forever be a blessing. We miss you already.
For my younger brother and I, growing up on the other side of the country, it became really difficult to establish regular traditions on a frequent basis. That's why when Thanksgiving morning came around every year, we were the two most excited kids on the planet to race to our grandparents' house, be surrounded by our entire family, hear stories, tell jokes, surrounded by massive waffles. Watching Bears on football afterward may have darkened the mood a little bit, but the fact we were all together was still the best part. It was there that we learned about the gifts we could get from her that we may not be able to hold in our hands. I can assure you that the one word you'll hear over and over today is that she was a fighter. And I can tell you that from firsthand experience. As Amanda mentioned on our trip to Israel, we'd taken a family Krav Maga lesson, and a lot of us throughout that lesson were just going through the motions, getting through it wasn't our favorite thing to do. And we all looked over and saw Marcia absolutely kicking ass against the instructor. Watching the way she would live her life, full of determination to just keep moving forward, inspired all of us to do the same as we start our adult lives. We're all so lucky to have called Marcia Berk our grandmother, and we know no matter what, we'll have her looking down on us, telling us to just keep fighting. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you both and all the grandchildren. We'll call on Scott to say a few words.
I'm definitely not the public speaker of the group, but he was. We'll see if we can get through this. Everyone that knew my mother knew she was a fighter. She would never give up. Over the past 30 years, she fought MS, beat breast cancer, she beat blood cancer, she survived a stem cell transplant, and that's more than any human should ever have to deal with. Then she had a heart attack with 100% blockage in most of her arteries. And she beat the odds, and after 8 hours of surgery, they were able to open up all her main arteries for her. Her battle with diabetes was just too much for her body anymore, and her body gave up. She didn't. She was smiling the day before she passed. I held her hand, and she smiled, and we told each other how much we loved one another. She was at peace with everything. Her biggest concern was that my brothers and I would look after my father. She also said he couldn't bring a date to the funeral, so good job. Well done. During the past year or so, her being in and out of the hospital, going to different doctors every day, you could tell she was tired of being poked and prodded. She would tell the nurses and doctors that too. If you were a new doctor that would come in and saw her and you hadn't read her chart completely, she would send them packing in the not so nice Marcia way. But she didn't mean it. She was very grateful to all the caregivers, and so are we. But when she was feeling well, she would do anything for anyone. Number one on that list was my father. This Saturday they would have been married for 56 years. They loved each other so much. She loved my father more than anything, and she made it this far because of his care and support. He's been a saint by her side throughout all this, and we can't thank him enough for all that. She always joked that I was only Jewish by birth. I was kicked out of Hebrew school. I'd offer bacon wrapped shrimp to a rabbi. Religion really wasn't my thing. Well, she was sure shocked when I showed up at home with a nice Jewish girl who kept kosher even. Now I go to Shabbat services on Friday nights when I'm at home and usually watch when I'm away from home. I sat on the board of our synagogue, and she couldn't believe it and was so proud when I finally came around. Before she passed, I was able to fulfill one of every Jewish mother's dreams for their sons. I became a doctor. I think one of her biggest joys in life were that we all had found nice Jewish girls to bring home and marry, and finally gave her the daughters that she always wanted. Beth, Davy, and Lori gave her 7 grandchildren that she loved dearly. When I was around her friends, she would tell me, show them a clip of Eli calling a game, or show them how big Drew is now, or do you hear what Marley did or Amanda did? I mean, she's always was involved with everything. She was a working mom. She ran a retail store, and then she was one of the top event planners in the area. She loved doing events and making people's dreams come true. She passed that love down to me, which led me to a long career in the event industry, making people's event dreams come true. Seth and I had a career change a few years ago, and it's a dream job for us. While it takes us away from our families for several days at a time, it gave us both the opportunity to spend extra time with our mother and father. We'd have dinners with them, we'd drive her to and from her appointments, and it was a great time that we got to spend with her. I'm glad we got that extra time. She touched so many lives. We've heard from friends, colleagues, former employees, and family from all over the world. And for everyone here today, she loved all of you. I owe my life to her. Yes, I know she gave birth to me, even though Brian says I was adopted. But without her, my father would have killed me many times in my past life. So she was always proud that I finally grew up. Mom, I told you I love you, and I told you the other day, thank you for everything you did for us. Thanks for putting up with us 3 Stooges, or maybe I should say 4 Stooges. And thanks for being the best mom we could ask for. I love you, and rest easy.
Thank you, Scott. And now we'll call on Brian to share.
Since I'm the oldest and old, I need eyes. Scott, you were adopted. Mom, well, you certainly posed a challenge to get this day exactly how you want it. Through the twists and turns, and it took a village, we accomplished what you wanted, to be laid to rest next to your parents once again for eternal bliss. Thank you to everybody who assisted me over the last 48 hours in helping me to get over these past few days and get over the hurdles that were presented. Thank you to all of our friends who are too numerous to name. I know you know who you are, that have provided an outpouring of love and support. Please know we love you all and appreciate everything beyond the words that we can express. Well, I've been reflecting a little bit, and for those of you who know the business I'm in the decorative mirror business, so we reflect a lot. So I thought about being a child and the traits that you get from your mom and your dad. So I started with the looks, and since many of you that are here, when I pass you in the locker room at Twin Orchard call me Michael, I'm going to assume that the looks come from Dad. The grit and determination, that's Mom. Grudges, that's Mom. Saving money, that's Mom. Family values, the tie goes to the runner, so sorry Dad, we're giving it to Mom. Fighter, we all know who that is, that's Mom. Mom was my cheerleader who could be heard in the stands, being asked to leave for her screaming at baseball games, iceless hockey games, basketball games, and even swimming meets when I was underwater. She always expressed her love and pride in everything that my brothers and I performed in. Raising 3 boys is no small feat, but Mom made it look effortless. She used to tell us all, thank God for Clairol, when she would treat her golden blonde hair when we were teenagers so that all the shit that we put her through didn't turn her gray. She would tell us that she knew everything that we did when we were growing up. Little did she know when we became adults that we started sharing with her quite a bit that she had no idea about. She got a laugh at some of those stories and promised not to tell our kids. She always said that she would not wish upon us to have children that caused all the shenanigans that we did because it wasn't fair to our wives. She was the brunt of a lot of the teasing in our household full of boys, and I could get her laughing to the point where she was crying down her legs. Many of you that were on the golf course with her knew what I mean. She loved a good party, as you all know. She loved it so much that my father and her made a career out of event planning. They were the perfect pair. My dad would come up with the off-the-wall ideas, and Mom would make it all happen. All of you know them as M&M, and she was the high-maintenance M. She loved to dance with my father, even if it embarrassed us. She loved and adored each of her 7 grandchildren. Marley, you were so special because you were the first girl, and she could not wait to buy pink. Amanda, you were her pistol that could always make her laugh, even as a little girl. Eli, you were her first grandson, and she loved to brag how brilliant you were, or are. Jenna, you were the youngest of her granddaughters, and she adored you. Tyler, oh Tyler, you were the reincarnation of your Uncle Scott, and Grandma got a kick out of watching me get payback for all those years I tormented your uncle. But she loved watching you grow up into the fine man that you have become and continue to be. Matt, she always bragged how musically talented and intelligent you are. Drewby is not a little boy anymore, and he has grown and grown and grown into the gentle giant that he has become. While she was not as present as she would have liked to have been in the last few years of suffering, she lived vicariously through all your good times and was always there with positive life lessons through the difficult times. Mom had a gift for creating a home that was not just a place but a feeling. Her door was always open, and no one ever left her presence without feeling a bit better and a little bit brighter. She had a warm heart. This took after her mother, Madeline, and she invited everybody to her dinner table. Passover Seders were never less than 40 to 50 people. Even the checkout lady at the grocery store was invited. Nobody was a stranger at her dinner table. If she liked you, she would take the shirt off her back in a Chicago winter. If she didn't, and you would know it, well, look out. Upon meeting my mom, you could feel the instant love and her true feelings. She never let you not know what she was feeling. She made people feel loved and important. The nurses knew her by Marcia, not Mrs. Berk, and were hysterical upon her passing. She passed out gifts and occasional gift cards to the dispensary to all of her caregivers. She was a hoarder. She saved everything despite my father throwing everything away. She'd pull it back out of the garbage. The good, the bad, and the tchotchkes. In helping clean out her closet the other day, I found the $50 bill that her father gave her to go to college. I found all the love letters my father wrote when he was stationed in Vietnam. I found her charge card from the 1960s to CoverGirl that was in her mother's name, and every collectible known to mankind. I would short Amazon stock if I were all you, because I'm not sure how they're going to survive as a company without her. Most of you know that Mom passed away approximately 5 minutes before Tyler and I arrived in Palm Springs on Friday. We all believed that in true Marcia fashion, she did not want Tyler to see her in the state that she was in, and knew that I was on my way to shoulder the load for my dad. I'm not a believer in supernatural forces, but I do believe that Marcia always had a plan. Dad, thank you for being the rock of our family and taking care of Mom all these years. You handled it all without a complaint despite some difficult obstacles. You showed us what love and commitment means in a marriage. You were M&M, and truly the hard shells with melt sweet insides. I continue to learn from you every day and love you from the bottom of my heart. I know that next week is your 56th anniversary. You sure it's 56? I'm 57. Oh. Since you always used to like to tell everybody that I was from Mom's first marriage, and you like to play it off that you're my younger brother, so you had a marriage and a partnership that was truly an example to learn from. Scott and Seth, thank you for helping Mom through the last few years. Having one of you in Palm Springs most of the time certainly gave me solace that Mom had family around her. Davy, thank you for being my partner and a great daughter to my mother. She always told you she wanted you to treat her the way you would treat your mother. I used to tease, Mom, be careful what you wish for. I've seen how she treats Lynn. You were her go-to for shopping and a good old-fashioned closet purge. Dad was always happy for the closet purge, not so much for the shopping. Mom, I promise to live by all that you taught me and instilled in me. I promise to be the rock for Dad to lean on. I promise to keep all the family traditions intact. As we say goodbye, I know that her legacy lives on in a way that she touched each of our lives. She showed us how to live generously and open our hearts to others. While we will miss her dearly, we find comfort in knowing that her warmth and spirit will continue to live on. I love you and do not worry. While we cannot replace you as an M, we have Dad's back.
"95% of the eulogies that I deliver, I reflect on a biblical character's life. But after hearing from this family about what was important to Marcia's life, I want to go in a slightly different direction. Golda Meir is a true symbol of Israel and the Jewish people. And why? She was as kind as she was strong. She was as loving as she was brave. She knew what was important, and she became a fierce warrior for all she protected. As the family described Marcia, passionate about her family, protective, philanthropic, loving, determined mindset, I kept seeing these similar traits to a woman who defined the Jewish people. Often the person who is strong for all of us can go unassuming to everyone. Marcia was the bedrock for this family alongside her husband. She was born on July 9th, 1947 in Chicago, grew up in the city, and graduated von Steuben High School. There she was a swimmer and, as Michael shared, hosted all of the parties. She grew up with a close relationship to her parents, Earl and Madelyn of blessed memory, and spoke to her mother 3 times a day until she passed away. The family also added that Marcia continued talking to her mother, Madelyn, once or twice a day after that. She then went on to the University of Indiana and graduated with a degree in education. Michael said that they met in high school, but they got together in college after she had set Michael up with every single one of her friends, and he then realized she was the one. Eventually, they got married in 1968, nearly 56 years together. Michael shared with me that she was not just his wife. She was his best friend, confidant, partner, and cheerleader, the absolute best. And only recently was he forced to switch into that role and be her caretaker. Michael was so close with Marcia and her family, he went into Earl's coffee business. They were like his own parents. After the coffee business was sold, eventually they would get together and, as we heard, start their own event planning business, working side by side. Brian eventually came into the picture. The dates are pending. And then Scott 2 years later, and Seth 3 years after that. Brian shared that Marcia protected her boys from anyone who threatened them, but mostly protected them from each other. Brian also shared that Mom taught them how to yell at the TV, especially if the Bears were on, even if she didn't know the rules at all. Kenahora, she would say. Davey added she was an avid sports fan, as parents and spectators of Chicago sports and their kids. Lori noted that she loved her soap operas. Anything on ABC, Scott added. General Hospital, One Life to Live, and All My Children. As Marcia and Michael got older, first they began going to Palm Springs in the winter of 1994, but eventually full-time residents in 2019. As a mother-in-law, she was described to me as the best, as all 3 women sat there and told me that they felt like she was their mother. Because she had 3 boys, she now got 3 girls. And when Marley came into the picture, Marcia was so excited. And all 3 daughter-in-laws said Marley was her. Beth noted that the babies, meaning the grandchildren, all made her smile. And she loved these grandchildren more than anything. Family was also continuously stated that she was a fighter, a true warrior, countless battles with various health scares, but always had a positive and amazing attitude. She had more than 9 lives. It never stopped her from living. She golfed, she knitted, she gambled, she loved the theater, she cooked and baked. In California, they would host 50 people for Passover, recipes that Marcia shared with the entire family. Everyone was invited if you needed a place to go. Seth informed me that she became philanthropic, especially with the FIDF, and kept in touch with the soldiers over the years. And of course, we heard about it in 2018, a very special family trip to Israel, remembered by all. Marcia and Michael were founding members of B'nai Tikva, and Michael shared that the original Bima chairs were their dining room table chairs. We don't still have those. You got them back. And it all packaged in a true love story. It takes a lot for me to laugh during a funeral, but I'm going to reshare a joke that we heard earlier, that Marcia told Michael that if anything happened, to not be alone and to be happy, but if he could not bring a date to the funeral, that would be preferred. Like Golda Meir, Marcia transcended what it means to be a fighter. She protected everyone around her through love and strength, and while her personal fight might be over, it certainly will live on through Michael, the boys, and the entire family. I'd like to leave the family, each of you, with some words of blessing. To the grandchildren, may you continue to be an unlimited source of joy for your parents as you were for your grandmother. Continue to make decisions that build love on top of love on top of love. To Davy and Beth and Lori, may you treat those who come into your lives as Marcia treated you, as your own family, hopeful and devoted for the rest of your lives. Seth, may you take from Mom her positive attitude into the next stages of life. Make sure you are welcoming and open to new ideas with a smiling face and a humble being. Scott, may you protect those in your family as Mom protected all of you. Know that your intentions will be seen by all those around you. And Brian, may you continue Mom's fighting spirit as the oldest of three. Guide your children and set a clear path for the next generation. And Michael, continue to be support for the family. Be their confidant and their cheerleader and their support system. And in return, I hope they will always be that for you as well. The love you experienced for 56 years will be a shining memory for you for the rest of your life. And to all of us who remember and learn from this life that we have lost, to never give up on our own lives and our own family. May we be the strength for all those around us. May Marcia's memory forever be for a blessing, and let us say, Amen. In just a moment, they're going to lower the casket. It's traditional Jewish funeral that everyone here who's able to takes a minimum of 3 shovels of earth and places that earth onto the casket. The first 3, by the way, in Judaism symbolizes emphasis and intentionality. The first shovel of earth will be upside down with the blade of the shovel upside down, and the remaining shovels, a minimum of 2 more, will be regular shovels. And then instead of passing the shovel to the next person, we place it back into the earth. The non-passing of the shovel and the upside down shovel show our reluctance to say goodbye to our loved one. After the casket's lowered and we place some dirt from Israel, we'll then call on the family to come and begin the process. Al mekamot ta'avo b'shalom. May Marcia go on to God in peace.
Friends, as we prepare the grave for burial, I'm going to put the register book back out for those who haven't had a chance to sign in. I know there were some people that I cut short, and I apologize. I'll be putting the book back out. If you want to sign in the register, just come up to the front. I also want to mention that at the conclusion of the service here at the graveyard, the family will return to Twin Orchard Country Club in Long Grove, and we'll be having Shiva until this evening, 9 p.m. That information is on the folder that you received on the way in. We have more if you did not receive them on the way out. Memorial contributions in Marcia's memory can be made to an organization called Be the Match. That information is on the website and on the folders as well. Thank you so much.
We're going to ask that the family start to go from both ends, and friends and family to go behind them, and then once you're done shoveling, to come back as close to the canopy as possible.
Friends, if anybody else wishes to participate in the burial, please step forward. In just a few moments, we will ask the cemetery staff to help close the grave, after which the rabbi will lead us in the final prayers, and then we will form a double aisleway facing each other, through which the mourners will walk through, entering them into the Shiva period.
There's got to be some kind of method to this whole thing.
Today, that's it. We're done. Scott's got to go. They're bringing you to the country college. You didn't want me to put a fake Jenna goes Sunday. Tomorrow. That leaves Friday. I thought he was going on Sunday when Owen was going. Everybody needs to leave. Eli's in the midst of moving here. Marlene's got to get back home.
Friends, if I have your attention one more time, under the guise of Pekuach Nefesh and the fact that it is rather hot, we're going to invite anybody else who wishes to participate immediately following our service. We'll stay, obviously, anybody who wishes to remain to see the closing of the grave certainly can do so. At this time, we are going to invite the rabbi to lead us in the final prayers, after which time we will form two double aisleways facing each other.
So, as we mentioned a little earlier, it's Tisha B'Av, so we have one prayer different, and I'm going to read that now as we believe these prayers escort the soul unto God. Elohai slichot, chanun v'rachum, erech apayin v'rav chesed, matzeh chaparet, pesha v'karavta, ישע ומנחם נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים הטהורים גזורם מרקיע מזהירים את נשמת מנוחה בת אהרון ומינדה שהלכה לעולמה. אנא בעל הרחמים זכרה לה לטובה כל זכותיה וצדקותיה בארצות החיים, ופתח לה שערי צדק ואורה, שערי חמלה וחנינה. בסתר כנפיך הסתריה לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן. God of forgiveness, you are gracious and compassionate, patient and abundantly kind. Grant vivid rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Marcia Berk, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that you remember all the worthy and righteous deeds she has performed. May our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up with the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. The Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'ikadash merabah. Ve'alma divrach yutei ve'amich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imro amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam l'meo maya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah brechu. La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. I'm going to ask that extended family and friends form two parallel lines so the family may walk by and see the comfort from the community. We end the service by saying, may Marcia's memory forever be for a blessing. Let us all say, Amen.